Welcome to HR Hospitality Blueprint, a think tank media podcast. Hosted by Oclaray and Tim Flohr, this show explores the leadership, workplace culture, and people strategies that help individuals and organizations thrive. Through conversation, actionable takeaways, and challenges you can put into practice, each episode helps professionals grow with confidence. Because hospitality is more than an industry, it's a mindset. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Oclaray, and I am the Vice President of Human Resources for Chartwell Hospitality. I'd like to thank Hospitality Nexus for having me on with my co-host, Tim Flohr.
Hi, welcome. And Chris, it's so great to see you again.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about today's topic. We're going to talk about fresh starts, new beginnings and setting goals and why that's so important with regards to professional development. Oftentimes, everyone uses a new year to set new, fresh ideas and have a fresh start and it takes a moment to look at what we've done the past year, whether it's our accomplishments, things that we could do better, things that we've had on the list to get done last year that maybe didn't quite get done, and we can move on this list this year. But we're going to talk about all different kinds of professional development today and why that's important, and not just necessarily for a managerial role, but for all employees.
Absolutely. I know we all start out the new year with new goals and resolutions, and sometimes they stick and sometimes they don't. But I do agree that it's important for all of us, regardless of what our position is in leadership or line level employee or anywhere in between, to make goals every year and always try to keep improving.
Yeah. It's not just, growth is not necessarily always vertical, meaning you're constantly, like, if you start as an entry level position, you take that next step up, and then you take that next position up, whether it be a front desk agent, and then you move to the front desk supervisor, and then you move to a front desk manager. Growth is not necessarily vertical all the time. Growth can be lateral as well. And we'll get into some of those examples a little later. But the reason why this topic is so important is employees stay with a company. The number one reason employees stay with a company is for professional development and opportunities. The number one reason people leave a company is because of the lack of professional development and opportunities. So this is critical either way. And, it takes two, right? When we talk about goal setting and reaching our goals and developing, it's not just on the mentor or the manager or the department head. There is some responsibility to that employee as well. And we'll talk about those things as well.
Absolutely. It really does take both. I say this not only from my time in industry, but in academia as well. You need to take charge of your career, and you need to make sure that you're bringing your best self every single day, and that you're making goals, and hopefully you're aligned with a company and an organization that wants to help you grow as a person. It's important to find that match, because like you said, if you're going into work every day and doing the same thing each and every day, and doesn't seem like people are investing in you, then they're going to find some place to go where they will, have some people make an investment in them. So it's so important to continuously grow.
I'm glad you brought that up. Fit is everything, right? And so we talked in our last episode about interviewing and finding the right fit. And that's so important to know, is if you align with your company's missions, does your values and missions and goals align with those of your company, right? And so, let's get into it and talk a little bit about that. So when we say it takes two, let's just start, for example, at an entry level position in a hotel, whether that be front of the house, whether it's front desk or an administrative position, or back of the house. That could be housekeeping, laundry, being a breakfast attendant, and so forth. If you want to grow with the company, and look, I want to use an example to start off. A lot of our executives here at Chartwell Hospitality, our COO, our two of our vice presidents of operations, our regional managers, they all they kind of just fell into hospitality. They needed a job during college. One started as a housekeeper, one started as a dishwasher, One started in a restaurant in a hotel, and they've worked their way up. And, here we are, whether it be 30, 40 years later for them, they are running a company, right? They're overseeing um, a dozen general managers. They are opening new hotels, Marriott's, Hilton's, because that's what Chartwell Hospitality does. We franchise, we own and manage third-party managed hotels. And so you don't necessarily, if you're not in school or you don't have a degree or you're not graduating, don't let that discourage you from having a career in hospitality. You can work your way up. There's so much opportunity. And when we talk about growth is not necessarily vertical, but can also be lateral. When a manager or your supervisor is asking you to do something, people are watching. What is your reaction? Are you a team player? It doesn't just start with, hey, I'm interested in becoming a manager. What do I need to do that? I mean, it's all encompassing, right? They're watching your behaviors every day. Are you a team player? Are you jumping in there when somebody needs help, even if it's not your department or your position? Are you asking, is there anything I can do to help? If you're a front desk agent and it's a little slow and it's a night shift, you might ask the night housekeeping team, is there anything I can do to help? If you are asked to do something that's not necessarily within your job role, I always say never say no. Obviously, if it's
Mhm.
unethical or it's harmful, it's going to harm you and you physically cannot do it, then logically you would say no. But if you're asked to take on a certain task or a project, or, hey, would you mind? We have a new front desk agent. You're pretty good at what you do. You know all the policies and procedures. You have great guest satisfaction scores. The guests love you. Would you mind training this person? They're
Mhm.
looking for you to say yes. And if you are told to do
Mhm.
something that's not within your department, be a sponge. Everything that you learn benefits you and helps you grow. And that's what I mean by lateral growth. You may not be getting that
Mhm.
title, but you're gaining a new skill set that will help you get to that next level.
I couldn't agree more. And I would say in my 20 plus years in industry, you come to find that hospitality is one of those careers that there's very few barriers to entry to get in. So you can actually come into hospitality from so many other careers. I've seen people come in from business sectors and retail and other places. And it's just a great place to come in, learn, make money, and you can grow. Most of the general managers and leaders that, like you said, in your organization, I've seen that over my career where they come in, work their way up, and to some people it's an accidental career that just kind of happens
Yeah.
and they fall into it. And yeah, but there's limited opportunities for growth once you get in. And
Yeah.
so I think if you have most CEOs and COOs and executives in the business, a lot of which didn't come up through the ordinary, they may have come in washing dishes like I did when I was
Correct.
15,
Correct.
and just keep going. Just keep going.
And
So you're exactly
and
right with
you're right.
Mhm.
You're exactly right. And, I will tell you that as a manager who has come up that way in hospitality, your employees respect you even more because you have done everything that you ask them to do. You have either done it in your career and you can jump in there and do it to help them. And that's how we operate at Chartwell
Mhm.
Hospitality, where a lot of our managers are working managers. So they're not on the
Mhm.
sidelines saying, you're going to do this today, you're going to do this today. But rather, if someone needs help, they're going to jump in and do it. Or oftentimes in a select service hotel, right? We talked about that in our last episode. A select service hotel, which is a little smaller, you don't necessarily have large meeting spaces, you don't have a restaurant, you don't have all these different outlets. Your staffing is a little smaller. So your general manager, your manager on duty, your assistant general manager, they are covering shifts. Maybe their executive housekeeper is out for the week. Well, they're running the housekeeping department as well as the entire
Mhm.
hotel. And some people like that. Some people like to be in that smaller hotel, select service, that those are your Hampton Inns, your Courtyards, your Town Place Suites, your, Fairfield Inns, your Homewood Suites. versus the big box and resorts like your full service Hilton, your full service Marriott, where those hotels have layers. And of course, there's a little bit more opportunity for advancement because there's more positions, but there's also room for advancement in select service as well. And before we go on, let's just kind of talk about the different positions that are in a hotel, because oftentimes people don't know, what's in a hotel, right? It's not just your front desk who you see when you first walk in, or it's not just your housekeeping staff who you see cleaning the rooms or laundry. There's a maintenance department that takes care of, if your shower is not working, if your room is not cold, if your TV is not working, if your air is making a loud noise, you're calling down to the front desk, but they're calling their maintenance team, right? And then if you have a full service hotel, you have banquets, you have sales. Also in extended stay, sales is very, very important because we call it heads in the bed. So without heads in the bed, you don't really have a profitable business. So sales is very important. There's revenue management, which, a lot of people don't know about revenue management, but revenue managers set the rates. They are aware of what's going on. I'll give you an example. So my daughter goes to the University of Alabama, and when it's football season in Alabama, those hotel rates are crazy, crazy high. I mean, like $1,400 a night to $2,000 a night. And those revenue managers are the ones who are in the know, whether it's through their chamber or, their visitors bureau, whatever's going on. As soon as they get those dates, they know this is a high demand weekend. We're going to increase those rates. Or, nothing's going on right now in Tuscaloosa. I'm sure I could go to Tuscaloosa tonight and get a room for $89, maybe $99 a night at a select service hotel, which would be like a Fairfield Inn or a Town Place Suite. I'm certainly not going to be paying $1,500 a night when nothing is really going on. So revenue managers set strategies for rates. And there's a lot of people that don't really know the positions that go on behind the scenes, right? You have accounting, because you have accounts payable, accounts receivable, you have to pay your vendors. You need to, just balance your books for the hotel. You have that accounting person is responsible for that. There's oftentimes an HR person on site, especially at a full service hotel. And then, just in the restaurant, servers, cooks, executive chefs, directors of food and beverage. You have a catering manager, you have an events manager, you have social media coordinator. So that's what's so special about the hospitality industry, is that there is something for everybody. Something for everybody. And you want to work in an industry that's so fun. You get to meet people from all around the world, and you get to make people's day. That's what you're there for, is to service people, right?
Exactly right. And the thing about the industry, even though you may have employees from so many different backgrounds and people working in maintenance and food and beverage and some of the administrative functions, it all boils down to skills, relationships, and that service mindset. So, you go up to anyone in a hotel, they have a badge on, you expect them to be able to help you. And that's another great thing about this industry. And we talk about professional development. Part of that is having those soft skills to be able to work with people, not only guests in your hotel, but also fellow employees. And that's really what's going to help you for those of you who are managing operations, to have a successful operation, is to build that service mindset and instill that in your staff. So I know I've kind of gone off a little bit about professional development, but I just really think that's important to always keep that in mind.
No, you are 100% right. Development and training. Training is a part of development. It's not just we bring you on and we train you at the beginning. This is your job and that's it. It's a constant. It has to be consistent, right? Customer satisfaction, customer service. The more you train, the better you can deliver service to your guests. you have a successful hotel, the better the morale will be with your team. You know, if you have a happy team and you have a successful business, your retention rate definitely increases. Word of mouth goes around, you take care of your employees will take care of the guests. You take care of your employees and you develop them, and then you really listen to your employees when they say, hey, I'd like to get to this level. Now, not everybody is guaranteed advancement, right? There are some people who may go down a path, and it is that manager's job to either steer them on that path to success, or if it's not cut out for them, steer them in a different path that they can be successful in, right? If you have, say, a house person who wants to then go into front desk, and they successfully cross train, and they can run the front desk, and knowing the different departments also helps you to service guests better. If you were once a housekeeper and you're now a front desk agent and you're checking people in, but housekeeping is backed up, as a housekeeper, you understand that. You know that, and you can, you can tell the guest, hey, your room's not quite ready yet, or you can gauge, your room will be ready in about an hour or two. Would you like me to give you a call? You can sit at the bar, have a drink, or maybe there's some restaurants or some sites they want to see around the hotel. Why don't you take a walk? We can give you a call in an hour or two when your room is ready. The housekeeping staff will appreciate that, instead of you just calling them and saying, how much longer, because you understand different functions. In a hotel, everybody has to work together, right? Every single team member and every single department cannot operate individually. They all need each other to make the entire operation work. So I think having all of that, and when you understand that and you have more skills under your belt, that is, without you even knowing, promoting yourself. Because when an opportunity becomes available, say you're in housekeeping and you've learned the front desk, but there's not really a position available. But when a position does become available, well, guess what? So-and-so has been doing this work. They've been cross-training. Say Tim has been cross-training for the last 6 months, has covered some front desk shift when we needed. He's ready. I would say, let's promote from within. Let's give him the front desk position. So sometimes you're doing things without even knowing that you're getting yourself ready to be promoted.
Exactly right. And coming at it from a manager standpoint now, in terms of professional development, it's instilling that in your staff and cross-training people to because it's going to happen. You're gonna have people calling out of work. Kids get sick, car tires blow out. There's 100 reasons why you might be short-staffed in your shift. But if you put the time in to develop people prior to that, it might be a difficult shift, but it's not going to be a disaster if you have people who can fill in and work and just show appreciation for that, helping people grow. I mean, I've seen countless people over the years who came in as a house person, setting up for banquets, train them as a server. And then I have one of my best friends ever went from that to owning his own restaurant in Bethany Beach, Delaware. And just seeing his growth, because he had an unbelievable work ethic and willing to learn and grow. And that's exactly what you need in the industry. And I think that's our goal as management to help develop our people like that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Oftentimes too, if you tell your manager once, hey, it's my interest to become, I want your position one day. We ask that in interviews sometimes, right? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And a lot of people will say, I see myself in your seat. Or, again, it depends who they're talking to, or, I see myself running my own hotel in 10 years, or I want to be a general manager. Well, if you express that to your manager once, or maybe you do it at your performance evaluation, or you do it at the beginning of the year, the general manager is so busy running this hotel, right? Whether they have 20 employees or 250 employees. They're a general manager, at least for Chartwell, because they care about their people. They care about our mission. They care about the success of the organization. They care about the guests. But don't rely on the manager. It is not the manager's full responsibility to just say, hey, okay, I'm doing this week. Let's sit down. They may just, not intentionally, it just may slip their mind that there was an opportunity to bring you in and train you on a certain thing, but it slipped their mind. So if you want to grow as an employee, you have to constantly get in front of your manager's face or your direct supervisor or your department head and say, I'm going to use housekeeping, for example, right? If you are a housekeeper and you want to run the housekeeping department, maybe ask your supervisor one day, hey, start slow. What is it? Can you teach me what you look for when you inspect rooms? Then you can become an inspector, a room inspector. That's one step up. Then you gain those skills, you become a housekeeping supervisor. When I see you making the schedules or I see you breaking out the boards to give to each housekeeper on how we're going to go about cleaning rooms for the day. Can you teach me how to do that? It's important that you're constantly, not to be to a point that you're nagging, so to speak, but it's your responsibility to ensure that the manager is aware of your interests to continuously grow, right? So it's up to you to get in front of that manager and say, it's been a while since we've talked about this. Can we review this again? Another thing is oftentimes like Chartwell Hospitality, we have checklists for every position. It's a training checklist. So if you are first day on the job and you're a front desk agent, you're going to go through all your training, your new hire orientation, whether it be the brand training or Chartwell Hospitality training. And then there's position specific training. If you're interested in a certain position or wanting to move up, take a look at those training checklists, see what it entails. What are the gaps that you're missing? You might know 7 out of 10 things on that checklist and you're like, wow, I'm not that far from the next level. You might know 3 out of the 10 things. And then you can know what is it that I have to work on to get to that next level.
Right. It kind of takes us to what we started talking about earlier in setting goals for the new year. And how do we do that? We talk about the importance of it, but what do you actually do? What would you say are the steps needed to set goals for yourself as an employee?
So you always want to make sure your goals are measurable, right? And it could be as simple as, I would like to, I just started at Chartwell Hospitality and I figured I'm really good at what I do. I mean, I started as a front desk agent at the Courtyard and just within 3 months, I got 7 customer compliments. I would like to make it a point to get 5 a month. That's setting a goal. That's a measurable goal, right? There are small goals like that. That shows that you are consistent in delivering your service. That shows that you care about the customer, care about the guests, and that you represent your company well. So it could be something like that. It could also be something as large as, I'm a front desk agent, but I am so interested in what the sales department does and how they set rates. I want to work with the sales manager and the revenue manager on how they set rates. So my goal would be to learn what ADR is, which is like your average daily rate, things like RevPAR, and I can, like we said, we'll have special guests later. We can bring in the different disciplines to talk about that in hospitality, but maybe it's as large as, I want to understand how rates are set. I want to understand what ADR, RevPAR is, and how we can, how we can get to max occupancy every day, how we can get a perfect fill. So some of those things are like that with setting goals. Say you are a housekeeper and you want to set goals, right? Maybe your goal is to cross train and you want to not just learn the front desk, but you want to help in laundry as well, right? So when you have slow periods, I mean, the hotel can't operate without laundry. And sometimes it's just one person in the laundry room or 2 people washing all the towels and sheets from the rooms that have been cleaned. And the housekeepers can't turn the room over unless they have clean towels and sheets. So maybe it's, I want to make it a point to work in laundry at least once every 2 weeks so that when I take over the housekeeping department, I understand every single duty or every single position that falls under that department. So it's always good to write skills out. I mean, write your goals out. And then for each of those goals, what are the steps you need to get there? That's why I say if your company has like a training checklist,
Mhm.
that's a good way to look at how you can set your goals. There may be
Mhm.
things on that checklist that you don't know, put it as a goal. And you don't have to put, if you're, like I said, if you know 3 out of the 10 things on that checklist, you don't have to put the 7 things. For 2026, let's focus on 2 of those things, right? And don't set yourself up for failure. Don't list a bunch of goals and then that are unmanageable or unobtainable, and then you get frustrated at the end of the year or midway through the year and give up. You want to make sure that there are reasonable goals, that you are motivated enough to get to that level. And it's always such a good idea not just to ask your manager, but to find a mentor. You've had many mentors,
Mhm.
Tim. I've had many great mentors
Mhm.
in my career, and mentors are, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without some of the mentors
Mhm.
I've had in the past. And I
Mhm.
still call upon some of them, and they don't even work with me or I don't report to them. So you don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to reach your goals only by the people that you work with or the people that you report to. You can go elsewhere to seek other resources to reach those goals as well.
Right. Whoever's watching this, it doesn't matter if you're in the hotel side like Chris is, or if you're in the restaurant side or any other aspect of the hospitality industry. Your goal as a manager is to make sure that your operations run well each and every shift. Your job is, like Chris said earlier, sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves, you have to jump in there, and you have to get things done. If they're short staffed over here, like Chris said, in the laundry room sometimes, you have to help out there. Or if you're in a restaurant, if your dishwasher's down or you're slow there, it affects every single
Yeah.
aspect of that restaurant. So it's important as a manager to know that you should always be trying to train your replacement as a manager and help your team to be successful and
Yes.
work with someone, be a mentor to someone and help them to reach their goals. Because the
Yeah.
more your team is reaching their goals, it's going to help your organization and help you overall as well.
You're 100% correct. Sometimes people are, I guess, intimidated. I don't want to teach certain people
Mhm.
this because they're going to take my job. You want to surround yourself with good people, right? You want to make sure that um, you are. Did I lose Tim? I think I think Tim went away for a little bit, but I'll keep talking for those of you who are listening. So you want to make sure that you surround yourself with good people, right? The better, there you are. Welcome back. I was just
Thank
saying the moment that you want to surround yourself with good people, when you develop people to do the job that you can do, it makes your job easier, right? And two heads are always better than one. You might have a bunch of knowledge here, but you can have somebody else with a whole different set of skills that maybe you're lacking, right? Maybe you're good in organization and schedules and project management. And this person here that you're training, they are so good with dealing with employees, calming employees down, conflict, so having a management team or a team in general that has has various different set of skills only makes that team stronger. And then let's back up a little bit. So when we talk about, setting goals, some of those goals don't have to be just job related. It could be things for yourself that help you get the job done better. Things like better time management. Maybe you want to take a leadership development class, right? You express that to your manager. I have a hard time. Like, I hear everything you're saying. I get all the technical things of the front office manager. What I'm challenged with is I don't know how to have critical conversations, or I don't know how to, you know, if an employee is upset or a guest is so upset, sometimes I struggle with trying to calm them down. Is there anything that you can do to help me with that? And maybe that's role playing. And a goal with that could be role play with various people on conflict management once a month. That's a measurable goal. Did you do that? Are you getting better? Are you feeling comfortable? Right? Because as you move up the ladder, um, not only does your title increase, but your responsibilities increase. So when you move up from position to position, you're responsible for different duties. And sometimes those soft skills that we don't necessarily talk about all the time, it's a constant and you need to have it all the time. Leadership skills, communication skills, right? And communication is not just verbal nowadays, it's emails, it's managing up, learning how to write, not just to the people who report to you, but also to the people you report to. You're not going to just have an email, say a guest complains, and you're going to say, I'm going to say Tim is my manager, and I'm going to forward this to Tim, and I'm going to say, see below. That's not how it works. So like working on communication skills and learning how to manage up. Instead of doing that, you would say, Tim, regarding the guest complaint, here's a summary of what happened. If you'd like to read in further detail, the entire story is below. So it's so different things like that. And all of that is learned through time, mentorship, experience, right? And I know our audience is vast, right? We have anybody from someone just coming out of college looking for a job in hospitality or a different industry. We have other people in a career who want to jump into hospitality, or who's in hospitality who want to jump into another industry. And that's okay too. I think all of this is relevant regardless of the industry that you're in.
I agree. And I want to say one thing about leadership for a second. Most people enter their career, they talk about professional development, trying to do better each and every day and have all the answers and be really good at what they do. And that's really good when you're starting your career, and people will see that and hopefully give you added levels of responsibility. And that's how you grow as a manager and a leader. But when you get to those next steps, you have to realize that your success as a manager or a leader is the success of your staff and helping your staff grow. So the more successful they are, the more successful you're going to be in your organization. So if you can master that from from entry level position to manager, and then to middle manager and then senior manager, you realize that it's all about taking care of the people who work with you on a day-to-day basis and on your team. If you can do that and align yourself with a company that values that, like Chartwell and so many other great companies out there, then you're going to set yourself up for a great career. But it's about aligning yourself with those people and creating that culture in your business.
Yes, I agree. And with that, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So little things, small, consistent little things can lead to great success or bigger positions, whatever that case is. Don't get discouraged. That's why we say, make sure when you're setting your goals, and goals don't have to be set in stone. They're not carved in stone. You can flex them as the year goes on. Maybe you set 3 goals, right? Maybe you say, learn the front desk. You're going to cross train with the front desk. Take a leadership course. So you take a leadership course. Work with my general manager on learning the budget. Okay, so maybe you do all that, and it's June. You can always set more goals for yourself. It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the year. It doesn't have to be at performance management time or review time. It could be at any time. And if you feel like you've set a goal and you're going through it and you're like, this is not really what I want to do. Say, for example, revenue management. You thought you had an interest in learning that. You're in there, you're sitting on a revenue management call, you're just kind of listening in. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if this is interesting to me. It's okay to change direction. Again, it's always good to learn it. You want to be a sponge. The more knowledge you have, you're promoting yourself within anyways, but you don't have to keep going on with the same goal if you're not happy, right? We want people to be happy in what they're doing.
Exactly. And we get into talk about a goal setting framework and talk about SMART goals and other types of goals. But I believe a lot of it too is just process it and make sure every day having a mindset of doing better and better each day. If you can do that, and just focus on, I'm going to try to tweak this little thing tomorrow and try to get better, you will be light years ahead of most people in a short amount of time. It's like Chris said, though, it's not It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, your career. So constantly just trying to improve and get better at what you're doing and learn from great mentors and be in great organizations. That's what's going to give you fulfillment at the end of the day and a great career. So,
Yeah. And be open to feedback, whether it's positive or constructive. Just be open and learn to, and that's hard for people, right? It's hard for people to take criticism, especially negative criticism. It's just human nature. But try to realize that you're getting that feedback to help you. If you're not getting feedback,
mhm,
good, bad, or otherwise, your manager or mentor is doing a disservice to you. So take that
mhm.
feedback and say, well, let me take this. How can I improve? How can I make this better? A good mentor or a good manager will tell you what you're doing wrong and then give you examples of how you could have handled the situation better.
Mhm. Exactly. A lot of people don't say, they will not tell you when you're doing something wrong or when you need to improve on something. And that's just not that's not a good way to run your business or a good way to run your life. You need to surround yourself with people who are trying to help you get better in every aspect of your life. And if you're not finding that where you're at, you get in with a company or place where you will. And so that's personally and professionally what I've seen over time is that you need to be open to that constructive criticism and know that people are coming at it from a place of caring and love and not, just trying to be mean to you about something.
Right,
It's we're actually
right,
all in this together. So yeah.
right, right. And for the managers, managers on here listening, we
Mhm.
said it's the employee's responsibility to come to you and say, hey, I want to learn this. But just know if you have an employee who's constantly coming to you, they're showing you, I'm really interested in growing with your company. That's priceless. To have an employee who enjoys being with your company and wants to grow with your company, you don't want to take that for
Mhm.
granted, right? You want to listen to them. So
Mhm.
as busy as you get, if that person is constantly making an effort to get with you to learn, just make a note and try to be proactive and get with them as well. Hey, and maybe use your calendar and schedule time. The next revenue call is on
Mhm.
this such and such date. Let's put it on your calendar so you can just sit in and listen. If you calendar it in advance, you're more likely to have these meetings with your employee, have these development
Mhm.
sessions, and not miss it.
Right. So yeah, so also let's talk about like some common roadblocks that may come up, either for somebody who's goal setting or for managers who are trying to help their teams. What are some different things that you see that may be roadblocks to this to professional development? And what do you do to counteract that and to continue moving
Yeah.
forward?
So, a lot of people will say, "We're so busy. We're so busy. We have this group in and this group in. We're at 100% occupancy. We just don't have time." Or maybe the manager is saying, "I can get with you on this time, this time, and this time," and you as the employee are saying, "I can't make those times." So there has to be a little bit of bend and flex, right? I mean, you have to. We don't get to the positions that we're in by not working hard and putting in the time. So if you truly
Mhm.
want to grow and develop, and your general manager or manager in general is they are taking the time to teach you, find that time. Whether it's let me try to see if I can get someone to switch with me on this, or if you have a commitment, or if you have kids, let me see if I can get somebody to pick up my child on this day, or I'm going to go pick up my child, drop them off. Can I come back? Another thing too is it might not necessarily be in person, right? Maybe you sit with the
Mhm.
GM or your manager for 10 minutes or 5 minutes and you ask them, where would you recommend I go? And I give you this example with the brands. So say
Mhm.
someone wants to elevate their customer service. We're in Hilton. Hilton University, there's all kinds of trainings for the different brands, whether it's a Hampton Inn, a Homewood Suite, a Hilton, um, a Conrad. So to me, I wanted to see what customer service was like in a luxury hotel for Conrad versus kind of a Hampton Inn. I wanted to see the difference in the training. I personally think that all of our associates should go through that Conrad training. It is the best of the best, and it doesn't matter what brand you work for. If you deliver that luxury service, you will have repeat customers. You will have repeat customers. It's the little things that those luxury brands do, right? Knowing your name, calling you by your name when you check in, thanking you for being a loyalty member, things like that, asking you how your day has been. How long do you plan to stay with us? Is there anything you're interested in while you're in our area that I can help you with? So, it's not necessarily, I think I went off on a tangent answering your questions, but the way to resolve some of those roadblocks is just thinking outside the box. It might not be, I can't do it right now, or no, I can't make that time. It might not just be a cut and dry answer like that. You could find other resources to help you get to that goal. You just have to put in the work.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So we covered a lot today. What
We did.
anything in closing, in that hospitality career mindset, what would your big takeaways be for anyone listening and watching this?
Yeah, my advice would be to have an open mind and be flexible. I'll give you sometimes growth. We talked about growth not just being vertical but lateral too. Well, let me just tell you that in hospitality, sometimes with regards to positions, titles are not everything for advancement. Sometimes you need to take a step backwards to take a leap forward. And let me just explain to you in closing and give you an example. We've had several general managers who wanted to, and I'll do two examples. We had a salesperson who they were in a select service hotel. They wanted to go to a full service hotel. They came from a dual branded hotel, and they went to a select service hotel, another select service hotel, but there was a larger meeting space, more functions in that sense, a larger F&B, food and beverage outlet. So that person went to go work at that hotel, didn't necessarily take an increase in pay and didn't necessarily have a higher title. But when they came out of that hotel, they were then promoted to go open another dual branded, much bigger hotel, more rooms, more F&B functions, because they put their pride on the side, went to go learn another brand, went to a select service, going from a dual select service to one, which had more functions, and then they got another promotion. Another example is we had a regional manager in our office, and a lot of his experience was with select service. We had an opening at a full service hotel. He took a step back. In this case, he did take a pay cut. He took a step back. He went back from a regional manager. He went to go be a general manager of this full service hotel for 1 year. Learn the F&B outlets, the operations of all that things that he didn't know, banquets, meetings, catering. And then when he came back into the home office, back into the regional role, he can now oversee and even help to open full service hotels. So sometimes you take a step back to take a giant leap forward. So my message is, when you're growing and learning and developing, have an open mind, be flexible, be open. I mean, just don't say no to everything, or don't have that mindset of, it's not my job.
That's the mindset that I think will really kill your career and any organization you're working with, if you have that mindset, if multiple people have that mindset. So for me, my little bit of advice would be always putting your best foot forward each and every day. And like you said, be that sponge that wants to learn different areas of the hotel. Just keep learning on how you can do your job better and help people do their job better. If you do that, you're going to put yourself in a position where opportunities are going to come about. And when those opportunities come, being ready to seize them. So
Exactly.
we don't know when they're going to happen, but just being ready for that. And that's about the best advice I could ever give, because a lot of my great things I've done in my life have been because I've never stopped learning, never stopped trying to get better. And when there's an opportunity, you go for it.
Right. It's always that next man up mentality, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Well, this has been fun. This has been good, Tim. I feel like we can just keep talking and talking about development. So thank you so much for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Chris, thank
Yeah.
you. It's always a pleasure seeing you, and thank you all for joining this episode, and look forward to
Yeah.
seeing you in the future.
This is Chris and Tim, your HR Hospitality Blueprint, and we will catch you on the next one.
Take care now.
Thanks for spending time with us on HR Hospitality Blueprint. Part of Think Tank Media and Hospitality Nexus, a global, human-first platform connecting the hospitality ecosystem in one place, like a career fair that never closes. Watch all episodes at hospitalitynexus.org. Until next time, keep building people, strengthening culture, and elevating hospitality.